that I have with me, my co-host for the day. I keep having these school board candidates and town council candidates as my co-host, and today I have Andrew Bennett. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And Andrew is running for his local school board, Northwest ISD, up in North Texas.
Yep.
And, you know, we've really been talking a lot about what's going on in education, not only in Texas, not only in our local communities, but nationally. What is happening in our schools today? And I truly believe that there is a complete federal takeover of our education system, and not only the public school system, but the private school and charter school systems as well. Because what we have seen is that choice has become no choice, because everything is aligning with the common core philosophy of education. And I know, Andrew, you have confronted this head on in your local community with uncovering Common Core in Northwest ISD.
They didn't really try to hide it very well.
That's right. That's right. They didn't. And it's interesting because what we see happening across the state, moms and dads are going in to their local school board meetings and exposing what they're finding in their children's classroom. And I know you and Tracy Hooks have been doing an outstanding job in Northwest ISD in going to these meetings and videotaping and uploading your 3 minutes that you have to talk and spreading the message. And what I think is so great, and what I think actually is going to save our nation, not just our state, not just our local community, but our nation, is for people to not only step up, go into those school board meetings, but actually run for office and get in those school board meetings that are behind closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what have you been seeing on the campaign trail and hearing as you're talking to other moms and dads and people in your local community?
Well, I think you're right. I think that the main reason that I ran for this position was because I felt like a lot of other parents in this district, and probably in a lot of other districts, they feel like they don't have a connection with the school board. They feel like they go in there and they spend their allotted 3 minutes of time, and it goes in one ear and out the other. It doesn't. I personally never felt like that they were paying any attention to what I was saying. Nothing ever changed, and that's kind of the same thing that I'm hearing with the people that I'm meeting. They seem so excited to know that there's somebody like them, a parent who struggles with a lot of the same issues that they struggle with, special needs type things, as well as some of this curriculum that we're seeing coming through. They feel like they don't have any connection to the school board. They feel like that nobody's listening to them, and they've expressed to me that they feel like with me somebody's going to listen now. So it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like what I'm doing is worth it. It's why I started this journey to begin with.
Right, because this was not a journey you sought after.
No.
I remember you and I talked the day that you decided to file and move forward, and this is something that you prayed about, talked to your family about, and because it's not easy. We know that when you step out and do something like that, the attacks are going to start happening. And what's interesting, our friend Ginger Russell, who's running in Magnolia ISD for school board, actually the attacks have become more and more and more aggressive. And what we also know, and I've believed this for a while now, but it's really coming to fruition, that there are people that want to use our education system not only to transform our nation, but but Texas is a target, and they want to turn Texas blue. And blue doesn't. What's interesting about this issue is it's not a Republican Democrat thing, because there's support on both sides of the political aisle. I believe what turning Texas blue means is it's not your honest, hardworking, good everyday Democrat who we may not agree on certain issues, and that's okay. But this progressive push,
Right, yeah.
it's the progressive push that wants to turn Texas blue. And when you look at the difference between school districts and what I am experiencing in Argyle, last week on this radio show, we had Marla Hawksworth, who's running for local town council in Argyle, and her husband, Craig Hawksworth, is running for school board. It's a totally different environment in our little community. And I believe when I've gone into my superintendent or our superintendent and raised questions or asked for things, the door's always been open, and they've handed over the information, and they weren't trying to hide it, I don't think. They didn't understand necessarily the big picture of what was coming in the door. I have a feeling in Northwest ISD it's a little bit different, because what we have uncovered is that TASA, the Texas Association of School Administrators, and TASB, the Texas Association of School Board, that is very closely aligned with Bill Ratliff, Thomas Ratliff's father. Bennett Ratliff is
we got rid of.
Yes, thankfully. That family has been in the business of lobbying and making money off of our education system.
Yeah, they've got big donors too, big donors.
Big donors. Charles Butts with HEB, which breaks my heart because I'm from San Antonio, and HEB is employs a lot of really good people in Texas. But they are working to fundamentally transform education in America. And it's not like we're just coming up with this stuff. All you got to do is read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And read what they're doing. And Ginger, her mother, Ginger Russell, who's running in Magnolia, her mother is really the one who exposed C-Scope in the very, very beginning.
Thank you, Janice.
Yes, thank you very much, Janice Van Cleve.
Yes.
And she's still doing great work.
Yes, she is.
Doing research.
Yes,
and
she is.
So there was an article that came out, TASA, which stands for the Texas Association of School Administrators, discredits the Declaration of Independence. And it just so happens that your local superintendent, what position?
Dr. Karen Rue is the superintendent of schools for Northwest ISD, and she is one of 4 TASA officers.
Yes. So, we've used the analogy of the green, yellow, and red people many times when I've gone around and spoken. And the green people being the people that are used, not necessarily in the know. But then you have the yellow people who are a little more in the know, a little more aggressive. And then you have the red people like Linda Darling Hammond at the national level and David Coleman, who are really orchestrating a lot of this. I would say that these superintendents, these members of TASA, are the yellow people, bordering on red.
Yeah, I guess they're using our tax dollars to lobby for us. You would think they would be lobbying for the things that we the people want, but they're not.
Exactly. And some of the lessons, I want to read this, an example of one of the government lessons from TASA's Vision Learning Curriculum. has students making guesses about what the Founding Fathers were thinking. The lesson focuses on Thomas Jefferson's statement in the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal. Did Jefferson only mean white men? The TASA anti-American lesson gives other guided questions that direct students to view the Declaration of Independence with disdain. And the danger of this is, and we've talked about it so many times on our conference calls as we're uncovering this, these two different philosophies of education. You have your traditional foundational, where one concept builds on the next. In math, you have addition, subtraction, multiplication. And you can't move on until you've mastered the foundation.
Yeah.
With the Common Core 21st century learning, Fed-led ed, philosophy of education, whatever they're going to rebrand it and call it this week. Yeah. It really is that collectivist, subjective philosophy. It's all about outcome-based education because they have a certain outcome that they want our children to learn. And it's very dangerous that we aren't stepping up even more. Does it surprise you now that you're kind of in the know and you're starting to figure this out? What are you hearing out on the campaign trail? Do people actually grasp this? What's happening?
I think a very small percentage are. I don't know what that percentage would be, but it's encouraging now that the people that I'm talking to are actually starting to feed information back to me.
Right.
It tells me they're on the right track, and you know, there's so many facets of Common Core. I think people get hung up on it's just curriculum or it's just this. It's so much more than that. So when they look at their kids' textbooks and they may not have received an ELA Common Core book, Springboard Common Core book like my son did, like they have at Tidwell, that says Common Core Enriched Edition at the very top on the corner, right on the cover. You know, they may not see some of the content in the homework that catches other people's attention. So, you know, for some people, it's taking a little bit longer. And for some people, it's not necessarily the curriculum, because I think Texas has done a fairly good job of keeping some of the real bad stuff out. I haven't seen some of the really, really over-the-line stuff that I've seen in other states in Texas yet. It's not. It's still, there's still a lot of left-leaning political type stuff that I do see, and I do have a copy of all my son's books. I just went to the school and I asked for them.
You said, "Can I see?"
I said, "Can I see?" And I want to note also that the principal of Tidwell, Kimberly Barker, has been very, very accommodating. She's been very professional. She's never ever stopped me from information that I wanted from the school. She's always been very forthcoming and has been very helpful. I mean, she let me know from the very beginning when I found the book that, you know, that I needed to deal with the district. And then, of course, the district says that it's the Texas State Board of Education, so it's pass the buck, pass the buck, pass the buck. But
well, that brings up an interesting thing, because one of the things that we now know is that this transformation of Texas education that has been happening over time, it's very interesting because the Ratliff family seems to always have a hand in it. But Senate Bill 6 that passed in 2011 really opened the door for these curriculum products to flood into Texas. And what happened is, before Senate Bill 6, our textbooks in Texas were purchased using the Permanent Education Fund. And Texas had the stronghold in the country because we bought so many textbooks that whatever came out of the textbook review process here in Texas, that's the way that the country went because we purchased so many textbooks. When Senate Bill 6 passed, it opened up the door to instructional materials, online instructional materials being purchased with that permanent education fund. And these publishers no longer had to go through the review process of the State Board of Education. Now they could sell directly to the school district. And only 50% of our Texas TEKS, our Texas standards, which are solid type 1 traditional foundational philosophy, they only have to cover 50% of that. So that opened the door for Texas to lose power over those curriculum products, and now everything, and it's interesting because in the debate between Thomas Ratliff and Senator Dan Patrick, Marianne Whitaker, who I don't agree with on a lot of things, she was dead on when she asked Senator Patrick, she said, why are you so worried about C-scope when every curriculum product that is out there that is available for our school districts is aligned to the Common Core? That was eye-opening for me because that's when I realized this is so much bigger than this C-scope battle that we were having. And I think that what you're seeing in Northwest ISD, what I'm seeing and what we're seeing across Texas is they are taking over education through the curriculum products and through the assessments. It's really quite scary.
Yeah, and speaking of the assessments too, I mentioned earlier I found out when you look at how a school district is doing in Texas and which percentile they're scoring.
Yes.
Northwest ISD appears on paper to be doing quite well. They're in the 87th percentile. But when you dig in a little bit deeper and you find out the raw score numbers with the TEA chart, and I don't know the correct terminology for the chart, but when you calculate it down, the score for a fifth grader in Northwest ISD has to be a 56 to pass. So, and as I'm digging more into this, and I'm willing to provide all this information as I find it, but apparently in high school, the numbers drop down into the 30s.
Right.
So they have to pass with a 56 in reading on the STAR test to pass, and in high school it's in the 30s. So that's when they're when they're showing how good the district is doing, they can fudge these numbers around the back and they say we're doing great, but they don't tell you only have to have a 56.
That's a passing grade?
Yeah.
Yes.
56 is a passing grade in the 30s for some of these high schools?
Yes. Now let me explain why that is and what this exposes about our school districts. And Donna Garner spoke about this last night on the conference
she did.
call.
Yep.
Basically what happened is our old standards, our tax, which it was all about, we're teaching to the test, teaching to the tax test. Those standards were your type 2 philosophy of education standards, subjective standards.
Right.
What happened is through the hard work of strong educators, strong foundational traditional educators, they pushed with the State Board of Education and with former Chairman of Education Robert Scott for our Texas standards, our TEKS, to move and transform into the type 1 traditional foundational. So the STAR test that they're taking today, which has some flaws, but generally is a type 1 test that is aligned to the Texas TEKS, which are the best in the nation. What we're seeing with what you're finding in the data is exposing these school districts that they are teaching the Common Core Type 2 philosophy, and they're not teaching our children the type 1 foundational.
No.
So, but what is so frustrating right now is your kiddos and my kiddos are the guinea pigs for this.
That's right. Yeah.
Our kids are the ones that are suffering the psychological damage that we're seeing across the country with this Common Core philosophy of education.
That's one of the things that I want to stop too, is the bringing in curriculum that hasn't been benchmarked,
Exactly.
benchmark tested, peer reviewed. There's no results anywhere that show how successful or not successful this stuff is, yet we're throwing our most valuable assets, into the mix of this horrible mess as far as I'm concerned. And we'll know in 5 years how our kids are doing by how successful this is by how our kids are doing. God help them.
I mean, really, that's, I know Kathy Wells, a mom in Northwest Texas, sent me a graphic, and it had a little girl and an equal sign that was marked out in a guinea pig. And really, that's what this is. Our children are guinea pigs in this battle for their hearts and minds. And those people that, when you look at, for example, Coppell ISD, where it's very interesting that Bennett Ratliff, who is Thomas Ratliff's little brother, Bill Ratliff's son, who was formerly on the Coppell ISD and then became a state representative, who was just taken out in the last primary by Matt Rinaldi, thank God. Jeff Turner resigned right after that, the superintendent. And when you look at how that district's bond money is being spent on 21st century learning classrooms with no classrooms, they have open concept schools where the teachers are just facilitating peer teaching and all of this Common Core philosophy. This is all a game to them. I mean, they are using our children to fundamentally transform a nation.
Isn't that a wonderful name that they've chosen to 21st century learning skills? I mean, who wouldn't want their children to be ready for 21st century learning? I mean, what kind of parent are you that you wouldn't want your child 21st century ready? That's how they treat us.
That's how they treat us. Exactly. And I talk a lot about our friend Meryl Hope that writes for Breitbart, Texas, that's just doing a phenomenal
Very
job.
thankful for her, yeah. She's been digging in and exposing some good stuff, yeah.
She is. And what this 21st century learning is bringing in to our children, her article last week about the bringing Common Core in through YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube EDU, yeah.
That is quite scary to me.
It's very scary.
And what the parents in Coppell ISD found is that their children were accessing porn on the iPads that our tax dollars paid for, and that there were people in positions of power who weren't willing to lock down those iPads to make sure those things weren't being accessed. That is very scary. The good thing is that there's parents waking up, and it's happening all across our state and across the nation.
It's funny that you bring that up, because it seems like, and I don't remember the organization, I think it's the FEC, on their website, a government organization says that the number one concern they have is child identity crimes. Yet the federal government, or this Common Core takeover, is pushing our children into the web, into a digital identity. And once they have a digital identity, then they're just like anybody else. Anybody can hack into their stuff. They can steal their identity. They can find out where they live, how old they are, what school they go to. Next thing you know, there's somebody sitting outside of the school picking up kids. They know the name. They know their dog's name. They know it because these kids are uploading all this information into the World Wide Web.
And it's interesting because we announced last night on our conference call that there is going to be a PTA National Convention in Austin, June the 19th through the 22nd. And Women on the Wall has decided that we are going to partner, and we're looking for partners. So anyone that wants to join us in this event, we're going to hold a counter event.
Great.
To the PTA National Convention, because the keynote speaker at the PTA National Convention is Arnie Duncan, the Secretary of Education, who is all about the Common Core philosophy of education.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at the sessions at that conference, the digital learning is a huge part of this. And really what they are doing is training those moms and dads, those PTA moms especially, on how wonderful it is for their children's personal identification to be taken in the name of education research. We, the experts, need your child's identification so that we can do research and tell you what products you need to buy from us to fix your child.
Yep. Remember that video from Paul Schwartz out of Kansas? It was talking about Target, how they had collected 5 pieces of data from his 15-year-old daughter and sent her literature on pregnancy stuff, to purchase in the store because of 5 pieces of data they'd collected. Turns out Target knew she was pregnant before her dad did. And Common Core collects over 400 pieces of data. Imagine what they can do with all that information. That's disturbing.
Well, and some of we've been able to confirm, we will have Dr. Sandra Stotsky at our conference. Dr. Stotsky was hired by David Coleman, one of the masterminds behind Common Core, for the validation committee, and she was to validate the English language arts national standards, and she would not validate them because she said that they would put American students back 2 to 3 years in English language arts.
No doubt.
So she will be in Austin with us. We also have Jane Robbins, who's with the American Principles Project, and she has done phenomenal work. I think it was her 10-part series, those videos, where she exposed really what was behind this Common Core federal takeover of our education system. But one of the things that she is going to be focusing on for our event will be this data collection, and that they are creating digital citizens. And this is something that should be of great concern to a lot of parents. And like I said, this is not a Republican-Democrat
Absolutely
thing.
not, yeah.
Because there's a lot of good, honest, wonderful Democrat moms and dads that do not want their children's private information to be taken,
Yep.
and that want their children to know knowledge-based foundational education. This truly is a battle between the progressive elites and we the people.
Yeah.
But I would contend that with what I see happening across our nation, with people like you running, Ginger Russell, Janice Van Cleve, our friends in Crowley, Misty and
Whitley.
Rusty.
Yep. And
They're doing
Corey
great.
Watkins in
Corey
Arlington.
Watkins,
Yeah.
yes. People are stepping up, and it's very exciting. And I want to show a video, and Josh will bring it up. This is a video of you, Andrew, at your local school board meeting. And one of the things...
That guy needs to shave.
Hey, one of the things that I think you brought up that is so important is some of this curriculum that's coming in. And one of the other speakers that we are going to have at our conference is Lisa Benson out of Arizona, who has a great radio show on Sundays I think it's at 3 o'clock Central Time. It's Lisa Benson for National Security Radio. And actually, it's the other video, Josh, that she really is talking about the national security threats that we're facing. And what we're seeing in a lot of this curriculum is a desensitizing of our children to the threats that we face.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we have I'm a part of a group that Lisa started, and it's a national security group, and we are working to take it down to a ground level. There's actually a white paper that's being written for city councils, town and mayors to be able to go in and understand how the Islamic extremists are coming into our communities, and in the name of interfaith dialogue and all of these things, they're becoming a part of our community, and we don't even know that they're coming in.
It's actually called social jihad, and there's several videos online. It's something I've been studying for a long time, and also I've learned something else, which came from after this. I learned after I did this presentation at the school board. People are really scared of the word Islam or having to do with Islam. They call the Islamophobia that they've come up
Right.
with now. So they've come up with a word now. So now anything that has to do with Islam, people are really scared. So I encourage people to read about Sharia law.
Sharia law,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So once they start reading about how Sharia law works, they don't talk about the sixth pillar of Islam. And there is a lot of debate going back and forth about whether there actually is a sixth pillar. But if you do enough research, you find out that there is a sixth pillar, and it is the most important pillar. And that's what I was alluding to in this video.
I need to get you into this group with Lisa Benson.
I'd love to.
Because we have some great people in this group. Claire Lopez, who's one of the foremost scholars on Islam and this stealth jihad. Jerry Gordon is another one. So there's some incredible people, and they're talking about just the same thing. So what happened, Andrew, you saw a lesson or in a book that your child was learning, and you brought this up to the local school board. So let's watch this video, and then we'll talk about it.
Hello. Last time I was here, I showed you the book that my son was using in Tidwell Middle School, which said Common Core First Edition at the top. And after I finished speaking, Dr. Roos said that Northwest ISD writes their own curriculum and everything they use is approved by the State Board of Education. I also received word from Dr. Cornell that the materials would be removed from the school. Today I stand here angry that again my son is indoctrinated by a Texas public school who thinks that Islam is the only religion that should be taught in depth in social studies. When I asked my son about what he had learned about Christianity, he said that they were mentioned along with Buddhists, Hindus, and Jews, but the focus has been on Islam. Last week's lesson, the 5 pillars of Islam. Do you know there are actually 6 pillars? It's very easy to Google, and I suspect some of you will after knowing this. Why would you only teach part of the facts, and why would you omit the most important pillar? Do you know that Sharia law allows men to marry their wives when they turn 4 and are allowed to consummate the marriage at 9? I am disgusted that any normal American would allow this to be taught to our kids as if something we should just all accept, the law of Islam. I've seen textbooks try to give credit to Islam for algebra, another lie, and a quick search of Francois Viette would clear that up quickly. I know I moved to college and career ready is as much Common Core as C-Scope is, and shame on you for not knowing all the facts. The law says, and I quote, Section B of HB 462, B1 in this section, Common Core Standards means the national curriculum standards developed by the Common Core State Standards Initiative. B2, the State Board of Education may not adopt Common Core State Standards to comply with the duty imposed under this chapter. B3, a school district may not use Common Core State Standards to comply with the requirement to provide instruction in the essential knowledge and skills at appropriate grade levels under subsection C. B4, notwithstanding any other provision of this code, A school district or open enrollment charter school may not be required to offer any aspect of Common Core state standards curriculum. There have been numerous conversations surrounding this topic, but the common answer you keep providing is that everything is approved by the State Board of Education. We have come to tell you the truth and you have ignored us. Remember, I was just following orders wasn't a viable defense at the Nuremberg trials either. Northwest ISD Parents and Teachers Against Common Core as of right now has 101 members. These are parents, teachers, attorneys, journalists, and even a couple legislators are paying attention. The group grows every day and will continue to grow as we get the word out. Texans Against Common Core has over 750 members and is growing about 50 to 100 members a week. We are also aligned with Women on the Wall, which reaches thousands. Going forward, you know now the truth. If you continue to ignore us, we will replace you with someone who will listen. We are not going away. Thank you.
Well, you know,
And here we are. I'm
and
still
here we
here.
are.
I told you I wasn't going anywhere.
That's right, and I'm actually running for office, so I can
Yeah.
get in there. You know, we have been so blessed with WBTM Radio allowing us to do this show here, and our producer Josh sometimes listens to what's happening during this show, and he has a reaction. Josh, what was your reaction just now?
Well, my reaction was, it's not an outrage that you're comparing this to the Nuremberg trials. What's an outrage is what they are doing to our children.
That's right.
I mean, whenever you have test scores of 56, hello, people.
Yes. That's
In some of these high schools, you have test scores of 30. That's a passing grade. Hello, wake up, get involved.
right.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
it.
I agree.
I think we're being nice by doing Can I Please See campaign. Can I please come into my children's school and see what you're teaching? And they want to get offended by that?
Yeah.
Yeah. it's
You know,
true.
I'm sorry, but this isn't my brother we're talking about. This isn't my neighbor we're talking about. These are our children
Right.
we're talking about.
Amen.
You should be thankful we're not kicking the door in.
I agree.
That's it.
I agree. I like what he had to say. That's nail on the head. He's right.
And that's really what's happening, I think. And we were talking earlier, they've been getting away with this for a very long time. This is not like this just happened overnight with Obama. We know that a lot of this federal takeover of our education system started way back. There's a letter, a Dear Hillary letter, that was written by Mark Tucker that lays out this whole blueprint of this whole process of this federal takeover. So as she was developing Hillary Care, she was also in the process of developing the takeover of our education system. And then you have the Bushes that came in with No Child Left Behind and took it even further and laid the groundwork for 2009 when the stimulus package gave all 50 states. In Texas, we took $18+ million to upgrade our longitudinal database system. Our tax dollars with the stimulus package in 2009 paid for a data collection system to be upgraded.
Yeah. Your kids.
Your kids. That was in 2009. In 2011, they had to report to the federal government their progress in that. That was in 2010. In 2011, Obama changed the regulations on the FERPA laws. The FERPA laws are like the HIPAA laws for our children, but changed them so in the name of education research,
Right.
they have access to our children's personal data without parental consent.
Yeah, that makes me angry.
And then we have in Texas, one of the other great speakers that we're going to have in Austin for this conference is Jenny White out of Oklahoma. That she's a mom that is working very hard on the ground in Oklahoma to reform education in Oklahoma. back to a traditional foundational education. And she was on a video, and she's talking about these P20s, and I'm going, what's a P20? Oh, we don't have P20s in Texas because, we don't have Common Core in Texas.
Right.
P20 stands for preschool through master's degree.
Wow.
Preschool through 20 years. Now they have preschool pre-20W. That's preschool through the workforce. So they're continuing to take your data after you're in the workforce and out of school.
Disturbing.
She was talking about this in Texas this last legislative session. We just passed a law, overwhelmingly passed with Republican and Democrat support, HB 2103, authored by Dan Branch, who's actually running for Attorney General. That should give you great pause in voting for Dan Branch for Attorney General, because he authored a bill, HB 2103, that sets up 3 education research centers in the state of Texas that, in the name of education research, has access to our children's personal information and their teachers as well.
Yeah.
And we're the crazy ones.
Yeah. This is all public knowledge. You can look it up.
Yes, I mean, that's the thing. I was talking to a mom out of Fort Worth, and she was saying what's crazy about this is that it's not like they're hiding it. All you have to do is they're hiding it in plain sight.
You're right.
They are. And so it's going to take parents going in and connecting those dots. And I want to encourage people. I want to show the other video.
Okay.
And you did have a little more facial hair.
Yeah, that was a Grovember beard that I just kept. I like beards.
It's good. It's
may grow
very
back.
good. It's very good. But you and Tracy have been doing a phenomenal job of connecting the dots, but then going into your school board meetings and connecting the dots publicly.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to, I can't remember, I was talking to Marilyn Gerstenschlager, who's actually going to be a part of the conference too. She's with the Eagle Forum. She said someone told her one time the best way to fight back is to read their own words publicly. To read their own words publicly. Because when you just read their own words, you're exposing it. And I think that's what Tracy did in this video.
Yeah.
She did a phenomenal job. So let's watch just the first part of this with Tracy.
This time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The public can only speak during public participation or defer to a specific agenda item. The presentation is limited to 3 minutes. Persons must sign up and complete a request to speak form before the meeting begins and state their topic. At this time, Tracy Hooks, you are able to speak. Ms. Holland will be the timekeeper, and she'll let you know when you have a minute left.
In September, I came to address this board and express concerns over a Common Core textbook I found in my son's backpack. I was assured at that time that the Common Core curriculum was not being used in our district, and that if I saw that on the book, it was either just supplemental material being used in addition to the core text, or that it was just put on the book because of the marketing used because so many states in our area, so many states have accepted the Common Core curriculum. I come before the board today, and most importantly before all the parents in attendance today, to bring to light some new information that has come to my attention. In looking over the district website as a follow-up measure after my discussion with Mr. Thornton, I discovered operational goals for the district which state alliances with the Partnership for 21st Century Skills, as well as the expansion of the Texas Initiative Generation Texas. I also had become aware of this district's participation in the Learning Forward Conference that took place last week at the Gaylord Texan. I went to the Partnership for 21st Century Skills website and clicked on the resources for educators. I then clicked on Implementation tab, and what came up was a Common Core toolkit. Generation Texas is a grassroots initiative seeking to increase the awareness and support for Texas Common Core standards and to create a college-going culture. A very large portion of the Learning Forward conference was also about Common Core standards as well. I come before the board again to ask, how can you continue to reassure me that this district is not implementing Common Core standards when a simple visit to the websites of the aforementioned groups all reveal strong ties up to and including guidelines for the implementation of Common Core? I see also on the agenda that there is going to be a presentation for House Bill 5, and to be specific, it's the impact of House Bill 5 on graduation. The memo states that the impact of House Bill 5 supports the district's Strategic Goal 1. Strategic Goal 1, according to the district website, states develop curriculum that addresses learning requirements of students as identified by the Partnership for 21st Century Skills. According to congressional record, House Bill 5 was passed 4 days prior to a bill that was passed to prohibit the use of Common Core. I took the time to look at both the current statute as well as both of the House bills for clarification. And to put it basically, House Bill 5, along with the verbiage of the original statute, along with what House Bill 5 changed. House Bill 462 still adds that it is not legal for Common Core.
All right. So, it's interesting because I talked about earlier how this has been happening over time. And when you look at Senate Bill 6 that opened up the door for C-Scope and online curriculum to be purchased with the Permanent Education Fund, they were really wanting to get their hands on that money.
Yeah.
So that was accomplished. Then you had in this legislative session House Bill 5, which further led down the pathway, as the article that Meryl Hope wrote for Breitbart, Texas, the pathway to Common Core. What is interesting to me is that this was authored, House Bill 5 was authored by Jimmy Don Aycock, who's a Republican in the House, and sponsored by Dan Patrick on the Senate side, who's actually running for Lieutenant Governor. This is why this gives me pause in voting for Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
Because he was a part of sponsoring a bill that fundamentally transforms education in Texas. And we were out there sounding the alarms, and he wasn't listening. And he was on our conference calls, so it's not like we didn't have access to him. But he on those conference calls, he said, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree on this one. Well, you know what? I really disagree on this one, because what you put forth in these pathways to graduation that are determined of our children by the end of 8th grade, who knows what they want to be at the end of 8th grade?
Yeah.
And it's based on assessments. And when you look at the numbers that we're talking about on assessments and the dumbing down of our assessments, this is not a Republican-Democrat thing. It's pretty amazing that right after House Bill 5 passed, that Wendy Davis came out and publicly announced that she was running for governor and that education was going to be one of her platform issues.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling when your eyes are opened and you start seeing and connecting the dots, and you just want to shout from the rooftops.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't you people get it?
Yeah, and like you were talking about earlier, it is encouraging to see so many new parents kind of waking up, I guess if that's the right term, and seeing what we've been talking about, seeing that we're not so crazy anymore, and just if nothing else, the awareness that we're generating through the in Northwest ISD, Parents and Teachers Against Common Core, and Texans, you know, Against Common Core, and a lot of the other different Women on the Wall, and Can I See, a lot of the different sites that have been put together to create awareness. I mean, I think that's the key is, and like, you know, and like you also said earlier, I wasn't seeking this position. I didn't have any intention of ever running for public office in any way, shape, or form. I'm kind of an under the radar kind of guy. I like to stay home and stay out of the camera and do family stuff and, you know, do the things that I like to do. I volunteer my time, you know, with dad's clubs and different charity events, you know, over the years, but never anything like this. And I felt like somebody needed to do it. Tracy's been extremely valuable in doing lots of research and digging up a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that our district is doing. You know, without her support in the beginning, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And there's, you know, just without getting so caught up in the minutia, what the PTA is saying, what the Texas School Board of Education is saying, you know, what is my neighbor saying? I mean, I've got to give my neighbor a little bit of credit because they, you know, they're a responsible parent just like I am, and I've known them for 4 or 5 years, and I've never had any problem with them. Why would they all of a sudden be telling me something that's just so crazy? Listen, there's some great facts out there, lots of great resources, and if we come together as parents and teachers even, this is not about the teachers. A lot of people think that we're against teachers. We're not against teachers. We are very pro-teacher. I have teachers in my family. I've never been against teachers. That from what I understand, I heard last week that they're even talking about doing assessed base pay for the teachers now. Right. So, I mean, you know, if you're a teacher and somebody comes into your room and you're having a bad day, that 40 minutes could cost you a lot of money. It could cost you your livelihood.
That's exactly right.
That's one of the reasons why on my campaign platform it says I will go to the school board, the schoolroom teachers, the classroom teachers, and I will get their input. There's no other school, I've talked to these teachers, there's no school board member that ever goes and sits down with these teachers and asks them, what do you think?
Right.
And I think that's crucial. These are the people that are teaching our children. These are the people that are on the ground teaching our children. They should have just as much input. They know what they along with the parents, know what's best for our kids. And that relationship with the teachers and the parents is what should be prominent. Not like, what is it, Dallas with their home rule? Is that what they call it?
Right.
A lot of people were fooled by that. It has nothing to do with giving the parents a voice. It has everything to do with taking away local control. And instead of having elections, you appoint people. Parents don't have any more input if they get their way. That's wrong.
That is the key. I mean, the position of school board, that is the last line of defense for our children. That's the last line to say that you can't do this in this school. We will not fund this. We will not do this. And talking about in Dallas ISD, what happened is they are getting a petition ready to create a home rule school, which is basically a public school without a locally elected school board.
Right.
It is an appointed school board.
Right.
Appointed board who is beholden to whoever's giving them the money. So if Bill Gates is giving them the money, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Our only defense is a locally elected school board. And I want to, we're about out of time for the show, but I want to, talking about this conference in Austin, one of the things that we would like, because the folks that we want in that room, I'm sure people like you and I want to be there because we know who Sandra Stotsky is. Jane Robbins is a hero. Dr. Peg Lessick is a hero of ours.
Yeah.
We know them. We've already watched all their videos. But what we want are those moms and dads that don't know who these people are. Those moms and dads that would generally go to a PTA national convention because they're on the PTA and they're going to have fun. We want those moms, especially in the conference with us. We want them to hear hear this message. So what we are doing is offering to corporate sponsors and to different organizations, we are asking them to sponsor a mom. Because a lot of moms and dads, you know, our generation, we're just trying to keep our head above water. You know, a lot of the grandmas and grandpas know that this is happening, but it's the parents that don't understand the big picture. So we are asking people to sponsor a mom to come to our conference. It's June 20th and 21st in Austin, Texas. We have not disclosed the location yet because we don't want the pro Common Core folks to try to get us out of there.
And they will.
And they will. So we're not disclosing it. But if you personally want to sponsor a mom to go, if your business or your organization wants to sponsor a mom, we highly encourage you to do this. And for every 5 moms that a person, organization, or corporate sponsor sponsors, 2 of them get to bring their husband for free. Do you get that? Because it isn't just about the moms. It is about the dads.
Yeah.
The dads stepping up.
Yeah.
But with Women on the Wall, you know, we use the acronym WOW for Women on the Wall, which
Right.
is just mom upside down. And so we want to get those moms in there and then bring the fathers in there. And we've got some great sponsorship packages as well. You know, it's interesting because when you look at this battle, the amounts of money, so many people have seen all the commercials, the pro Common Core commercials.
Yep.
They're being
airing on Fox News right now.
on Fox News.
Couldn't believe it.
They're very well funded by Bill and Melinda Gates, by all of these major corporations. This truly is a grassroots effort, and we don't have those big donors.
No, we don't.
And even the donors who are generally on the more conservative side, they're not into this issue. And so we are doing this. This has got to be us.
Yeah.
And so we're willing to step out and organize and get it going. We've secured these great speakers, but now we just need people to show up, and we need for people to pay to show up because we've got to cover the cost
Right.
of the location. And the other really cool thing that we're doing is partnering with a company called Volt that is going to videotape all of the sessions, the speakers, the workshops, and then people can, when they leave, they can purchase that box set
Great
of
idea.
videos and then take it back to your local community and have a bunch of moms over and moms and dads over and show them the video of Jane Robbins.
Yeah.
Show them the workshop where we're talking about what is the difference between a state standard, the Texas TEAC standard, and the national standard, and how do you recognize that when you go in and say, can I see? So this is going to be a hands-on conference where you leave knowledgeable and with the tools to take this back into your community and to educate a lot of those people in this education bubble who are the green people, because there's a lot of really great people in education who are there for the right reasons.
Absolutely.
It's just that their voice is being shut out by this big federal takeover.
A lot of them are afraid to say anything.
They are. So Andrew, I just want to say thank you for coming
you.
in studio. It's been fun, and please come back.
Sure.
And we'll bring Tracy in too. Sure. Obviously, y'all are great on video.
As soon as we win, we'll come back and talk about the next step.
The next step, that's
Yep.
right. So, well, thank you, and thank you to WBTM Radio. That stands for We Become the Media, and for the Arlington Tea Party for getting this project underway. And thank you, Josh, our producer, and have a great day.
May 10th. Vote.
May 10th, vote. That's right.